I'm doing good. Yeah. Thanks for doing this and pleasure to have you for this session.
Pleasure. I'm happy to be here, and yes, equally excited for this live.
Thanks. So the format we'll keep is I'll start. I'm doing good. Yeah. Thanks for. I think there's some delay. Yeah. So I was saying that we can keep a format where we can do the introduction. Then you can talk about your journey as a trainer, coach, as well as a video creator. And then I think Sneha has shared the list of questions. So we'll keep it free flowing. So we can start from the beginning. Why? How do you sort of get started in creating online courses? What are the topics to choose? To how do you find the right audience for it? And so on and so forth. So
Sure.
sure. So good evening, everyone. This is Ankur, and we are hosting a community builder workshop hosted by Yuki. And today we have Ria with us. Thanks a lot, Ria, for being there. And Ria is a corporate trainer, a coach, as a trainer, a video course creator, as well as she hosts exclusive program on demand for soft skills and other skills as well. Ria, you want to talk about yourself, your journey into the space? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hi everyone. This is Ria Punjabi, and the journey of coaching started around 6.5, 7 years back, where I was in the physical space, going to educational institutes and corporate spaces, and coaching people, which I still do. But with a lot of webinars coming in, you seeing a lot of ads in the last few years, especially around 2018-ish, that's when it caught my attention as well. And 2019 onwards, I started exploring this space better. Created my first online course, went flop, made losses. But then that was what the failures taught me a lot. Tweaked the model, and yes, now I'm able to actually collaborate with a lot of people out there, with a lot of communities out there, and sell not just the courses but coaching programs as well. Yeah, that's a bit about me.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone who starts for the first time, they sort of tend to fail. Every one of us have seen their share of failures, and that's a bright spot about it, right? You get started, you learn from your mistakes, and then you keep bouncing back, and you get it right one time. And just wanted to know, is there a particular segment you target as a course creator or a coach, or is it a broad segment? You're able to actually create courses for different verticals.
So there are two segments here. One is the segment where people are looking from a job perspective to accelerate their careers. And there's another segment where people are looking to accelerate their careers, but they are coaches. They are coaches in the offline world, and they are kind of overwhelmed to come online. So the idea is to help people accelerate, but there are two sets of audiences. One are the people who are looking to be at jobs, and the others are those who want to have a digital presence, who want to build this digital asset and get another source of income as well.
Got it. So everyone wants to build a business online and meet coaching courses. How do you get started? So what are the first steps? You think about the problem statement first and then look at where you can find the right kind of audience for it. And how do you sort of think about this?
So a few years back, if you would have asked me, my answer would have been just go ahead, shoot the courses and publish them. But obviously that may lead to a failure. So the right way of going about and doing this is first decide what niche you want to be in. You might be good at various things, but you don't want to jump into multiple things. You want to, build your authority in one space first. So if you're confused between 2 to 3 niches, just sit down and think, where is it that you can command authority? Or where is it that you have a lot more knowledge, and pick that niche. Post that, choose the segment with whom you want to work, which is your ideal customer. After that, you go ahead and you choose your offer statement, what kind of positioning you want to do. Where is it that you want to show people that you specialize in, and where is it that you can help? And once this groundwork is done, this is like a foundation, the strong foundation that you're building. It might be very boring, but super important in the entire journey. Once this is done, you actually go ahead, craft a curriculum, and don't shoot a single video, don't spend a penny, but go out there in the market and do a beta test. See if people are willing to buy a coaching program from you, you're willing to buy a course. If you have at least a buyer or at least two buyers, that's when you know that your course is going to do well in the market. After that, you take the money in and you shoot the course live with them. And along the way, take feedback from them and tweak your course. And that's when you can go ahead and think of the remaining part of the journey, which is actually shooting videos, editing videos. So for your first batch, you're going to do it completely live, collect a lot of feedback, and then start recording it as if you're recording, courses, videos for your courses. Now, once that is done, the shooting, editing bit is done. That's when you think of the whole tech and automation. Usually, people are so overwhelmed with the tech and automation, they think that is the first step, whereas that's much later in the journey. You think of the tech and automation once your courses are short, and then you think of your whole Facebook ads, and then the remaining tribe building, community building, and so on. Yeah,
Got
so
it.
that's a typical roadmap.
Got it. Stepping back a bit, you mentioned that collecting or getting people to sign up for your course before you've already created it. How do you do that? So, how do you create an audience who would be able to sort of pay you for the value you can provide? And how did you go about doing this?
So while I was experimenting, I didn't have a lot of budgets because I made losses, and the only sensible route at that point seemed to go the organic route, which was
Okay.
basically being active on the platform your audience is in. You don't have to be active on every social media platform out there. You can just choose a platform or two where your target audience is and
Okay.
start providing a lot of value there. Like in my case, you would see that I'm very active on LinkedIn, but I'm not active on Instagram. That's because
Got it.
my audience is on LinkedIn. And when you provide a lot of value, towards the end of the post, you start telling people that I'm thinking of coming up. You're being honest there. You're saying I'm thinking of coming up with a program. I'm going to do it live. If you're interested, just DM me, and then you take it forward from there. You do a Zoom call, a 15, 20 minute Zoom call with them, and that's how you convert them.
Got it. Got it. So makes sense. So building out an audience first, showcasing your value before you can sort of ask users to pay for a service is a actually an effective way to make your business profitable and getting you started. Um, so I'm assuming this is 18, 19, and you've built out a course. What kind of content specifically for LinkedIn? What kind of content worked for you? So was it a long form content? Did you stick to a particular niche? How does one grow an audience on LinkedIn?
So typically, honestly, you have to experiment. There's no answer whether it should be long form or short form. You got to do everything. You got to do polls. You got to come up with tiny videos, which could be like a minute long videos, or you could do really long personal stories related posts. So there is no answer there, to be honest, because there are times when the long form does really well. There are times when even a simple poll does really well.
Okay,
So that's one. Second, what type of content you should create. So it's important that when you are posting something, you're doing it with the intention to help people, to solve a problem.
got
So
it.
I always suggest that when you are building your course, when you're thinking of building your course, research on what are the problems people have and
Okay,
try to kind of give solutions to those problems on LinkedIn or whichever platform you choose, and see the kind of response you're getting. So that's where you come to know actually whether this are you assuming it's a pain point, or do really people have this pain in their life. So
got it.
it's a game of researching and then testing it out. If it's working, it should be a part of your curriculum where you go more in depth and explain how do you find the solution to that problem.
Got it. And so you had an audience through LinkedIn. They were able to sign up for your course. Where do you think? So, which platform did you host the course on? Was there a particular platform? Was it your website or a blog? And how did that work? So,
So I've experimented with a lot of platforms. I have used Teachable and used Zenler mainly. So
Okay.
these were the two platforms I used. Eventually, I shifted to News Endler. And after that, I've experimented with Graphy as well. So these
Okay.
are the two tools that I'm using as of now. But I've heard that Yuki is new in the market and it seems really good. In fact, I went ahead and I researched on it, and that definitely looks like a promising tool. So,
Yeah.
to be honest, Ankur, the answer would be choose any tool which you are comfortable with.
Okay.
And at the beginning, choose tools which are not that expensive, because in the market there are a lot of people out there who will tell you, use ClickFunnels, use all the fancy tools, and then the monthly cost comes up to around a 20K. And at
Yeah.
a beginner level, you don't want to invest that much money, right? So it makes sense to either choose tools which are on like a forever free kind of plans with some limitations, or the tools that don't, kind of burn big holes in your pocket. Yeah.
Got it. And how did you come up with the pricing? So initially you're getting started. How do you come up with the first pricing, and do you iterate every time you launch a new course?
Mhm.
How do you think about pricing? So how does someone who's just getting started think about pricing?
So your pricing should be such that let's say you charge, like for example, let's say you charge $1,000. When people invest $1,000 with you, they should be able to make 10x, so 10,000.
Okay.
Right. So that's a simple formula that I have for pricing. Always people should be able to make a minimum of 10x when they come and buy something from you.
Got it. So any price you put on, the value you can provide is at least 10x of that.
Yeah.
That's when you are sort of when you think that something is working and will be there for a long term. So were the in your case was the content sort of like a coaching format, live content, or was it hosted with a lot of written content? So,
So
and what was
I
your sort of how is the engagement between these two?
So Ankur, coming from a training background, because I was in the physical world a lot, I had this understanding, and because I've done a lot of train the trainers as well, this is one understanding I had in the past, that your audience is always going to be a mixed bag. Some of them would be visual learners, some of them would be auditory, some of them would love to read a lot, some of them would be kinesthetic. So whenever
Right.
you're creating a course, your course should be a combination of all these things. It
Okay.
should definitely have videos, and that I leave up to you whether you want to keep your camera on or off, because this is the biggest myth. People feel that if you're on camera you learn more. Nothing of that sort. I mean, my own online course is with one of my courses with my camera off, complete course,
Okay.
right? So what matters is the visual element, that people see, that should be appealing, that should make them be there 100%. So it could either be you talking, or it could be a PowerPoint deck that you're playing around. So that's the visual element. Auditory could be any piece of thing you're making them hear. So it could be, for example, if there are NLP coaches or there are mindfulness coaches, they could literally attach a meditation, or they could literally attach a piece which people just have to plug in and just listen. For reading, you could give them some articles to read, so it could be in a PDF or doc format, or just pointing them to a resource on the internet. And from a kinesthetic perspective, it could be a lot of writing work. In some cases, like communication coaches, for example, they could actually tell their candidates to go ahead and get into role plays and stuff. So that involves the kinesthetic element. Yeah.
I think, as you mentioned, being interactive with your coach, with your coaching session is very important. And what worked with you is, for you is basically different formats, even audio. So the kind of camera off format is primarily podcast. So
Yeah.
people might be engaging in passive learning in a way, doing some other thing at that time. Heard podcast is another way which is growing in online learning. Um, Coming to sort of when you sort of evolved and had experience building a couple of courses, what were your learning from first two courses that you launched? What would you do differently, and what was the learning as such?
So the biggest learning was never ever shoot courses before testing the market. I
Okay.
wasted 8.5 months shooting and editing videos, and then I launched out just to realize people aren't buying. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest learning. The second learning is don't fall for fancy tools. You'll see a lot of fancy tools in the market. You don't need them, honestly. You just need to choose tools carefully, because that's a space where you can save money and instead put that money into Facebook ads and get more leads and conversions. The third learning that I have is that, so again, from personal experience, you don't have to be on camera all the time. I remember it took me one whole year to come on Instagram video in a video format. I mean, that was the kind of fixed mindset and overwhelm that I was going through. So if you're somebody who's great with your knowledge, you're really good, but you're camera conscious, it's absolutely fine. Just keep your camera off and you can go ahead and still win the show out there. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely. I think it works both for audio. If you're great at communicating your idea and the value you're able to provide, even with audio, that is sufficient for people to sort of find you useful. So you mentioned specifically Facebook ads, and as initially say you build out, especially in your case, you build out an audience on LinkedIn. Did you look at other platforms as a channel to grow your reach as well, and how did you sort of go about it? So yeah.
So personally, I've used Facebook ads the maximum when it comes to paid formats. I've not really experimented with Google ads out there because I mainly believe. So apart from Facebook, I believe in the power of collaborations. I kind of have collabs with a lot of communities out there, and we help add value to each other's communities. So that's another way. And then the third way is through email marketing, both via nurturing people, so nurturing your database, as well as cold emailing. So there are a lot of people who say cold emailing is not good, but just try it for yourself. Be sensible in the kind of audience you're choosing while cold emailing, and you're going to get your response from there as well.
Okay. Yeah. So I think Facebook ads and emailing is something. So how when you were building an audience or a community in longer term on LinkedIn, did you find anything that didn't work as on LinkedIn as a platform? So the question being related, we are building UK as a community platform where you can host your community members, have a direct relationship with them, and in the long term engage with them with live events, post discussions, as well as now courses as well. And we realized when you have a community, your distribution is sort of taken care of in a way.
Yeah.
And you might not have to spend a lot of money to acquire customers through ads, and these your community act as a mechanism for as a way to refer you to other customers as well. So they can be a good word of mouth for you. So did you think about building a community, or is it something you started thinking about? Your take on this?
Yeah. So I believe in the power of communities. So there are different ways in which people look at communities. For some people, a WhatsApp group is a community, or in this case, a Yuki or a Mighty Networks is a community, right? So it's important to build communities because that's the way in which you are going to have repeat customers. That's the way in which people are going to trust you more, and they're going to be your repeat buyers. Now, coming back to the question where you asked about the difference between LinkedIn and communities, definitely there is a lot of difference, I would say. So LinkedIn is more public in nature. You don't want to keep, things private on LinkedIn. You want everything to be public out there. And while it's great for networking, yes, you do have a lot of LinkedIn groups as well. It does not have that feel of a community, even if there are groups. Typically in a community, people are more close-knit. They want to share things with each other. They want to receive feedback from each other and guide each other, right? So when you have a closer community, like in case where, a Yuki comes in that place, right? Where typically you can just put up a file and say, hey, I'm stuck here. Can somebody help me? Can somebody be my accountability buddy? So those things are possible, in a closer knit setup, basically. So definitely, while LinkedIn is great, I wouldn't say it's the best place to build your community. In a sense, when I say community, I mean close-knit. Of course, you can have a community where you have your connections and followers, but in a close-knit format, you will need another platform to go to.
Yeah. Got it. And sort of as you grow, do you mix and match in terms of the pricing being? Do you release free content frequently in between your paid content? To sort of increase your funnel, or how do you think about it? So free plus paid courses.
So for that, typically when you enroll a student in for your coaching program or your courses, we tend to give them lifetime access to the courses, as well as they have an option of attending your weekly sessions, weekly Q&A, weekly or twice a month kind of Q&A calls. So that is more or less lifetime. Sometimes, depending on coach to coach, you may want to put a like a hard stop that you have 1 year access only. You can attend Q&A calls for the next 6 months or 1 year only. So in a way, they do get free once they pay for one product of yours, and remaining things like the Q&A calls and a little bit of hand holding is something that comes along with it as a bonus. Yeah.
God. Yeah, I think that makes sense on sort of keeping it available for users on a longer term. And also, do you keep a part of the course free? So if I'm a free trial user, I want to try out a service, do you keep a part of the course free? And does it help in terms of conversion?
So I've never really kept any part of the course free. I've given a course out for free where the course is for 4 days, and people go ahead and after consuming the 4 days, they go ahead and they book a strategy call. And towards the end of the call is where we tend to talk about the paid product. But part of the course free, typically you would see that in people tend to keep certain videos open, like preview videos, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, but never really done that. I've done the free course followed by a strategy call, and then turned them either into a coaching client or got them to buy another paid course.
Got it. So one thing which we've taken there in the offline space, when you're hosting any coaching or coach session, there's a lot of many to many kind of interaction between students. How do you facilitate that in sort of an online environment? I think community is one way where they can have group sessions, but how do you think about it, and are there any measures you've taken so that this can be facilitated for your audience?
So I'm a strong believer of personal connect. I usually don't do any kind of live calls where there are a lot of people. Usually I do live calls with max 15 to 20 people where they can get their personal attention. They come, they ask a question, they can take some time and get the questions answered. When it's a webinar format where you're more in the knowledge sharing mode, it's not really a two-way communication, or you're more in a sales pitch mode, that's when I feel a webinar works, where you can have hundreds and thousands of people. But to have that whole community feel and to get people to get their questions sorted and make them feel that they've got the special attention, I always believe in the power of small coaching groups.
Okay. And so makes sense, I guess. Having a personal attention in a coaching format is absolutely necessary. Again, a thought from my side is another question is, how do you think about sort of the kind of content you want to keep? So videos are one. We talked about webinar. How do you mix and match between sort of a written format content in a PDF to workbooks which are more engaging and sort of can have MCQs to question and answers, etc. How do you divide that? Is there any format you go about for a particular course?
Yeah. So typically, I like to divide my courses into 9 parts, which are more or less like 9 chapters. So 3 chapters level 1, 3 chapters level 2, 3 chapters level 3. The power of basically the rule of 3, where people can pass faster. And for every chapter, it would have a mix of everything because my audience is visual, kinesthetic, reading type, or auditory, right? So a chapter would always have a mix of all these elements. Yeah.
Okay. And a particular chapter is how long? So a particular student, how much time does it take for him to sort of complete a particular chapter?
So there is, for me personally, I have a chapter which is 2 hours long, but it's broken down into smaller videos, and typically the chapter is supposed to be completed in a week's time. Okay. Because it's not just absorbing 2 hours of content, it's also implementing something. So I like to give a lot of fillable PDFs where, being in the digital space, though I personally love the pen and paper bit, but there are a lot of people who just like typing their notes out. So once they're done consuming the content, that's when they download the worksheets and start filling in their answers, start pouring in their thoughts, and then move to the next week's content.
So makes sense. So another change in how we consume a content is now a way of short videos. You see, there's a movement. We used to consume a lot of Netflix. Now people are sharing short videos on Instagram, TikTok, to YouTube Shorts. Is there a way this can be used as a mechanism to acquire customers, or as well as sort of a way for your students or your audience to actually imbibe a particular content? So, have you thought about shorter format content, or are you using it?
I am using it. So, how shorter form works is basically to catch them on. It's like a hook, and then maybe you can get them to look at the long form of content. So the idea is that you want them to consume more of your content because the trust levels increase. The more they read about you, the more they research on you and look at your work, the more the more connected they feel to you. And when they jump on a call, which could be a strategy call or a webinar or a workshop, the chances of them actually going ahead and buying your courses are higher. So while short form or content is great, especially I'm talking about videos, it's great. But the people who consume the long form of videos are the ones who are more serious usually.
Got
So
it.
it
Yeah,
could
I
just serve
think
as a hook.
yeah, as a hook to generate a particular interest or a lead, then actually moving them down the funnel to your other content. Yeah. So this has been great. So understanding on the basic of how to set up a course, how to think about it. How do you keep your audience motivated? So have you seen conversions? Say you've launched a particular course. Are there repeat users who buy different courses, or you have to reach out to say a different kind of audience? Because I'm assuming you're going after a particular niche.
Hmm.
So how do you keep them interested, and how do you get them to sort of try out a new course you have?
So I don't have a lot of new courses. I
Yeah,
typically just have one course which takes them from basic to advanced.
got it.
And then after that, if they need more hand holding, then they have to come live with me on one-on-one coaching calls or group calls, depending on what collaboration I have with which community.
Got it.
So the reason I've kept it that way is because when I was on this journey of learning from multiple coaches, it kind of was frustrating that you pay for a course just to realize at the end that hey, this was just step number one. There are many more steps. You have to buy another course and then another course and then another course.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to cut short that journey from a user experience perspective. And yes, of course, learning never stops. You can always keep improving.
Yeah.
And that you have the coaching element, the live coaching element.
Yeah. So I think get them to try out your service, and then if they need more hand holding, move them to a live kind of session format where they can have a personal session with the creator. I think
Yeah,
that works.
absolutely.
So I'm assuming you're working with users or audience from a particular geography, especially I think India. So
Yeah,
have you tried out say different Jews as well? So for a particular
not
course?
yet. Not
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
India is huge. There's a lot of scope here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's on my mind definitely. Just that I'm going a little slow first. I mean, I want to kind of learn more and more from my audience before I jump into another territory completely.
Okay. So do you use? I think WhatsApp is really popular. Everyone has access to WhatsApp. Do you use WhatsApp to constantly communicate with these guys?
No, that's only for my one-on-one coaching clients.
Got it.
Because otherwise, I mean, you're bombarded with so many messages. It's humanly impossible to kind of do your physical trainings as well as come back home and take care of the online support queries as well. So typically, email format is for people who've just purchased the course, and the one-on-one coaching clients, of course, have a better access, which is through WhatsApp.
Got it. Last question from my side would be: you've tried cold emailing. I think we reach out to LinkedIn and we're able to connect with people, and we sort of collect an email ID and then reach out to them. What is a typical conversion you've seen when you have a right kind of data set and you want to reach out to them? What is a typical conversion you've seen with emails?
The conversion is just 2%.
Okay.
But the beauty is that the one that converts typically is a serious buyer, and the chances of repeat rates are pretty high. So I have a few corporate clients that came through cold emailing, and they are clients with whom I have interventions almost every month or once in 2 months. So yeah.
Got it. I think so. I think the audience you're reaching out to are the right fit then. So the email set you have or the cold contact you have should be the right fit, I guess.
Absolutely.
So we have a question from Jose. He wants to know that what is the average duration of videos in your courses?
So every video is around 7 to 8 minutes. Of course, there are exceptions where some videos are 15 minutes, but on an average, it's 7 to 8 minutes per video.
Okay, and you've kept it based on a talking to your audience or the kind of engagement you've seen.
So again, coming back from the whole, because of my experience in the training space,
Okay.
I know for a fact that people don't like consuming a lot of information in one go. They're as well as overwhelmed when they are purchasing a course, or even when they come to you, they're very overwhelmed, right? So if you give them a lot of half an hour, 1 hour worth of information, they're going to. I mean, our attention spans are low, so it
Yeah.
makes sense to always, answer one question per video, basically.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, if the topic is on niche selection, let's say which niche should you choose? So one question probably a person could have is what mistakes can I make while choosing my niche? So that becomes a video, and the video could just be 7 minutes, 8 minutes long. The next question could be I'm confused between these 3 to 4 niches. How do I choose? So answering that question in the format of a video, and that becomes a part of the curriculum. So the key is to identify the pressing questions, and then those questions you answer, and it's basically a part of your curriculum. As you answer with every video, they are progressing in the journey and moving closer to their goal, basically.
Got it. I think there's one more question. We'll take this up. Just want to summarize that you get answer to a particular question with one particular video, and that's how you've kept it 7 minutes. And the attention span of people is not. They don't want to consume a lot of information in one go. So I think makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
So just to kind of add one point here, Ankur. Typically, when you go to a YouTube and you kind of consume a long form content, you have that option of going forward
Yeah.
because you're not paying any money.
yeah.
You just keep skimming. But when
Yeah.
you pay some amount, your skin is in the game. You want to listen to every second. You want to be there 100%, right? So that's the intention. That maybe on a live right now we are 33 minutes into the live, and people
Yeah.
are still watching it,
Yeah.
right? But the moment you convert this into a program, people want to keep rewinding, pausing, taking their notes, and so on. So it always makes sense to have smaller sets of videos. Yeah.
Got it. So I think Anil has a question referring to: do you provide any kind of gamification, a leaderboard, or any kind of gamification in your community of students?
So with me, Anil, I typically am a small, group kind of a person where I love having smaller groups. So for me, the gamification aspect is only adding batches and kind of helping them understand where they are in their journey, which is basically 1 out of 100 steps complete, 2 out of 100 steps complete. I don't have the leader board format simply because I don't deal with a lot of people. I rather deal with a smaller set of people and give them my personal attention than have thousands and thousands of students. So leaderboard works great when you have a lot of people and they're working towards one goal, and that's when you can kind of motivate them. So apart from batches and showing them their progress in the journey, you can also gamify by going ahead, and this depends on your audience, right? If they love certificates, you can also go ahead and give them special certificates, not just participation certificates. It could be a simple certificate like the initiator of the group or the motivator or something on those lines, which will kind of make them feel good. That I've earned a special something in the community. Yeah.
Got it. We have another question, which is: why would anyone purchase a paid course when there's ton of free advice and content available online? Yeah. So, what is your take on this?
So that's a great question, Yuan. To answer that, think of it this way. While there's a YouTube, you're still going to college, you're still doing your MBA, and you're paying lakhs and lakhs of rupees there, right? So similarly, you're going to pay for online courses for the guidance. You're not really paying for the information. There's tons of it on the internet. But when you go to a college for, like an MBA or something, you're going there for something. You're going there for a degree probably, or for some sort of a recognition in your resume. Same way, when you come for an online course, probably the idea is not to get that recognition, but to get a transformation, to get results. And you need a coach to do that. So while YouTube has a lot of information, the people who are producing the content on YouTube are doing it with the intention to sell you something. So they will give you a part of the course. They're not going to give you the complete course. The complete course will have the right direction at the right time in the right format. And that's why people will always opt for paid courses, no matter how much information continues to be there on the internet.
Got it. I think it makes sense again. There's another, I think, question from Jan. Do you feel that there's a market for traditional certified credentialed coaches to offer online learning? So I'm assuming what he means is certified coaches, certified sessions, or something like that.
Okay. So, of what I understand from the question, you mean to say that you have some degree in the offline world, like a traditional degree, maybe like a bachelor's or a master's or some degree which you've done in the offline world. And does it work in the online world? Absolutely. In the online world, in fact, you'll see that there are a lot of coaches who don't even have any kind of certification. No certification, absolutely. It's just that they're really good at what they do, and they have been able to generate a lot of success stories, and that's why they are a hit. So my answer to that would be absolutely yes. If you have no special certificates, you really don't need. Nobody really asks for certificates. All they need to see is that you are the right coach who can provide them the transformation, and that's your certificate then. Yeah.
Got it. So Pranab has a question. Learners buy courses that have some credibility. How do you go about building credibility, trust, specifically when an individual is starting afresh? So starting for the first time, how do you build that trust in terms of with your users, with an audience?
That's a great question, Pranab. So, this is something which I learned when I failed the very first time in my course. And the reason I failed to sell it was purely because I didn't have a single testimonial. And if you ask me, it's just one testimonial that you need to prove to somebody that you are a good coach. Now, how do you go about getting that testimonial to build your credibility or trust? That's the question. So, there are different ways of doing it. The one way is which I spoke about when you're doing a beta test, where you're being vocal about it, you're being honest that I'm thinking of starting a program. Would you be interested? Just DM me. And the first time when you're offering it, you give it a slightly lower price so that the conversions are quicker. Once these people convert and they are with you as a part of the first batch, they are associated with you much more closely, right? So they are more or less like your special batch. You can always ask them for a testimonial. So that's one way of building your credibility. The second way which you can do, and this depends on what exactly you're offering. So if you're offering a service or a product, what you could do is for the first few people, you could offer it for free in exchange of a testimonial. So let's say, for example, you want to do a course on how to build beautiful websites, just an example, and you have zero testimonials. What you could do is you could join a Facebook group where there are a lot of people who are a part of your target audience, and you could tell them that I'm looking to build my portfolio, and I would love to help 5 people for free. Please DM me for more details. Once they hit your DMs, that's when you talk to them about the 4 5 free services that you have, and let them choose just one. And there itself you tell them that I would love to do this in exchange of a video testimonial. And when they agree, that's when you kind of give them the service for free, and you have the testimonial. And let's say, even if you'll have a lot of freeloaders also on the internet, right? You'll have a lot of people who will promise you that yes, I will give you the testimonial, and they don't. Okay, so in that case, you can request them for a written testimonial if they're not willing to give a video. And let's say they turn your backs and they don't even give you a written one, you still have proof of the great work that you've done, which you can showcase in your webinars and other sales pitches. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So I think this is tactical advice on how to create your worth or trust in the market. I think in the previous they're asking about, for any course creator, one of the main concern is the paid course should not be shared for free with someone else who's not purchased it. So, are there any measures you can take to prevent this, or have you faced this, and what is your take on this?
So it's a very good question, Inderpreet, and the answer to this would be probably, there are people. I mean, we discussed this. Ankur mentioned about this, that people do share their Netflix passwords, right? Netflix is totally aware about it, but they don't care about these tiny things. So you have to think from a larger level that even if, let's say, your course has gone away for free, the point is it's helping you promote yourself. It's your course, your name is going to be there somewhere, your face is going to be there somewhere. So even if a person is consuming it for free, they are seeing you, they are going to talk about you elsewhere as well, right? That being said, there are few tools out there in the market which tell you that they can help you, that they can help people, that they can prevent people from downloading your videos. But again, I mean, there's no guarantee. There would just be a person who could have a DSLR and completely record your post. What are you going to do in that case? So just have, the mindset that it's fine. I'm taking it with a pinch of salt that tomorrow it might get copied. But the point is that I'm still getting promoted for free. So it's a good thing in a way. It's your promotion.
I think there's a practical take on sort of piracy of any kind of content. There are ways to deter it, but I guess there's no full 100% way to foolproof protect your cause.
True.
Yeah. Let me just check if there are any questions on LinkedIn. Yeah, we